Greetings and thank you for joining us at FutureMoneyTrends.com. I'm here with the chief editor and founder of TFMetalsReport.com. It is the place to be if you want to know what's going on with the precious metals. They also have a special paid newsletter for as low as $10 a month. You can get daily commentary and even directly contact the people behind the site who are giving cutting-edge analysis. I'm here with Mr. Ferguson. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
My pleasure, Dan. Good to talk to you.
Sir, I want to start off with basically for people who are not familiar with your site and your work, let's just start off with basically your premise and your view of the global economy right now and where it stands. And I'm talking about the economy first, and then if you kind of want to go into what's going on with the precious metals as a result.
Well, the theme of my site, the theme of my work, we call it the end of the great Keynesian experiment, and how we need to prepare for that. And we're at that end game now. We call it the Keynesian experiment, but really it's a Federal Reserve experiment. It's the fiat money experiment. It's however you want to phrase it, where now the debt is growing at such a rapid and exponential rate that eventually the whole debt-based system is going to collapse. Gold and silver are your insurance policies against that rapid devaluation and debasement of paper currency. And that's what we talk about. You know, I was a stockbroker. I was part of the system my whole professional life. I had no intention of becoming a blogger or running, this hugely popular website, but it just kind of developed that way. And now here we are. And the site itself, TF Metals Report, it's a fantastic place. It's populated with a bunch of people that are really smart. The regular readers and the regular site members post all kinds of links and other information, and everybody treats each other really well. It's not like a cesspool of name calling and stuff like that. It's a great place, and it's been a really fantastic experience.
No, it really is. It's like a little mini zero hedge that has a little more emphasis on the precious metals. Now, when you first sought out to do this site, you had kind of said before this interview that it was just a passion, and now as it's grown, the site's become so popular. I mean, what is the secret to having so many people, so many smart people come together on the site? Is it just, a lot of research and hard work?
I suppose that's part of it. What is the line about luck and preparation, meets hard work or something like that? There's definitely some of that. Some of it, just being in the right place at the right time and getting started just as metals were about to explode in 2010. But, there's two things about, the two main factors that have made it all so successful. One, I have a public speaking and sales background, and I've just always kind of had an ability to explain complex things in a little more simple manner so that people can get it.
Yeah.
And so I think, in all reality, I think that is a big part of why I've had the personal success. But the site would not be anywhere near what it is or grew to what it became if it weren't for the folks that frequent it, and that they all contribute great information.
And I asked you that. I know that's not what I invited you to talk to us today, but I asked you that because I'm always trying to think of new ways and to help other people thrive during hard times. Because as you know, a lot of people have lost their jobs. They're having trouble getting new jobs, or they've been forced into part-time work. So I hope to use your story and other stories like it to inspire others to go all out when it comes to something that may just be a hobby, but you never know what it'll turn into. Getting back to gold, on gold, a lot of people use it they're looking at it as just an investment. You refer to it as insurance. Now, just help me clarify something, because when it comes to insurance, and I tend to think of it that way as well, but I don't expect to gain anything really day to day from my auto insurance or my home insurance or fire insurance or even my health insurance. However, it's there for worst case scenario. But gold investors, they tend to obsess over the price daily. What are your thoughts? Is gold truly insurance, or is it an investment?
First of all, to your second point, that's the best parts of running a precious metal site, is that gold and silver investors do obsess about the price on a daily basis. It keeps them coming back every day, a couple times a day. I don't know. I guess that's the idea of insurance versus investment. that's one of those definitions we could probably talk around in circles all afternoon. But I want to continue to. Personally, I refer to it as insurance in the context of you insure your home for replacement value. You look at it, and maybe you do it, or maybe your mortgage lender demands that you do it, or whatever. But if you've got a $200,000 house, you have $200,000 worth of home insurance. So if lightning strikes it or whatever, and it burns to the ground, you can replace it. People, I get accused all the time of being just this guy that recommends 100% allocation to metal, and I've never said that. I look at it, and I want people to do their homework, recognize that the price that you see of gold is artificial. It has been capped and manipulated quite literally for decades. So that price that you see printed off of the COMEX is false and artificial. Do your homework, decide what you think the proper price is. Look at that as maybe a 5 times multiple from here. So therefore, your proper insurance, should the dollar system finally completely break down, is to have 20% of your assets in gold. So if the other 80% gets revalued and devalued down to nothing, then the 20% that you have in gold and silver, as it assumes a 5 times multiple, replaces the value of your assets, just like that homeowner's insurance replaces the value of your home. So that, in its most concise term, I guess that's why I look at it as insurance more than as an investment.
Yeah, it certainly gives you the peace of mind, and it is the prudent thing to do in these times. When it comes to manipulation, that's kind of a hot topic actually amongst a lot of people. But I'm just going to ask you straight up: why would manipulation end? It's gone on for decades. The most powerful people in the world are in charge and behind the manipulation, and the people who literally create the fiat currency that basically, in the minds of 99.99% of the world, is money. Why would the manipulation, and how can the manipulation end?
Well, 2 points to that one, Dan. One, I want to make sure everybody that is listening understands. A lot of folks think that when we talk about gold price manipulation and suppression, we're just coming up with excuses as to why prices haven't gone up for the last 2 years. That's not the case at all. We're not talking about conspiracy theory. We are talking about historical fact. And if you do some research and look back at the history, documented history, of central bank suppression of gold price, you'll quickly find this has gone on, like I said, for decades. How will it end? And the reason why it is now rapidly approaching an end is the simple fact that we've never been this close to the end of the current dollar system with this rapid money printing. The creditor nations, those that hold dollars in reserves, they recognize, one, they don't want to continue to hold this rapidly devaluing asset, the dollar. And at the same time, they're looking forward, picturing, how will the monetary system look for the balance of the 21st century? And so they are demanding gold in anticipation of that next currency regime. That depletion of the West's physical gold is what will end the manipulation scheme. And what I mean by that is all of these ounces of gold that have been leased out, loaned out by the central banks, sold into the market by the bullion banks, all of that has always been managed in the past through matching up these leases, buying it back, whatever, and suppressing price. But now that underlying collateral of that whole trade, the physical gold itself, is rapidly disappearing and moving east. And without that underlying collateral, that whole derivatives structure of suppressing price, ultimately it has to collapse. Because, I suppose, kind of like the dollar, you can just have fiat money, fiat currency, but I don't know if in the end you can have a fiat futures contract with absolutely no backing to it, nothing but paper claims. And that's what will drive the final end of this manipulation scheme.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I've heard them talk about Asia, where Asia props up the U.S. dollar. Well, they're buying a lot of gold, but what's to say that they just won't continue the manipulation or assist it? But so you're bringing up the COMEX. Now, what are the issues with the COMEX? Because I've heard a lot about this, but and a lot of people who follow GATA and your site and Andy Hoffman. But if you could break it down for us, what is the fundamental problem with the COMEX, that there could be a default and the manipulation can be uncontrollable if something happens to the COMEX?
Yeah, in the end, the COMEX is just a paper derivative market. Right now, actually, it's on as weak as legs as it's ever been. historically, and that I think the numbers I saw last night, there are potentially 63 owners to each deliverable ounce. That's how heavy the leverage is at this point. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the open interest of gold, the total amount of gold contracts that are open on the COMEX, and you divide that by the amount of actually registered and readily deliverable gold, you get a ratio of about 63 to 1, where that has usually been 10, maybe 20 to 1. That's the underlying, I guess, thing that concerns people about the viability of the COMEX going forward, is that with this drain, you've got to have the ability to deliver, to create this facade, this charade, or continue this charade that this really is a pricing mechanism. Well, yes, it is it's a fair pricing mechanism, because if you want to take delivery, we have delivery. Okay. Well, if in the end that gold is gone and you don't have delivery anymore, then why should that? Then there's no rationale for that to continue as a pricing mechanism. And that's I guess ultimately the fallacy of the current system, is that this paper market, where hundreds of tons of paper metal can trade hand in an instant, that is what determines price of sound money, actual money that has been money for millennia, gold and silver. But this rapid paper trading is what determines the price, rather than the actual supply-demand price, where I'm willing to exchange it for you, or exchange it to you. Again, I think that this whole system is an anomaly from a historical standpoint, and it eventually will fail. It's just a matter of time.
What about with silver? There's been a lot of talk about J.P. Morgan recently, and silver. I mean, I'm interested if you know the stats. So you said 63 or 64 to 1 with gold. What is it for silver?
I haven't. I'd have to do the math real quick, Dan. I haven't looked. What's interesting about silver, though, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, because Ted Butler mentions this all the time in his newsletters, about the dollar value of all of the above ground silver in the world versus all of the above ground gold in the world. And it's something like $30 billion worth of silver versus, whatever, a couple of billion, whatever it is, like $1 trillion worth of gold, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's a ridiculous disconnect between the two. That is probably silver is a tough one to get around, because it's such a small market, and so it really is very easily manipulated by these bullion banks. We got to a point in 2011 where there really was kind of a run on physical silver, and the bullion banks began to panic cover short positions that spring in 2011, and price was just skyrocketing up, and we were almost to the point of default until the CME stepped in and raised margins 5 times in 9 days and effectively squeezed the life out of paper trading. Almost really similar to what happened to the Hunts. They moved to a liquidation-only trade in 1980. Kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
And we've been treading water, and the computers have been running it ever since. It really doesn't have anything to do with above-ground supply-demand fundamentals. It just has to do with paper trading on the COMEX. Again, that's not a system that, to me, is sustainable, and we'll wait for that to finally fall apart.
Yeah, because the demand is better than ever. I mean, I was looking at the demand for the physical silver eagles, and it's just through the roof.
Right. And they have to source that by law, that all of the eagle demand has to be sourced first from the U.S. Well, with the removal, at least temporarily, of that massive mine in Utah last year, that the big collapse.
Yeah.
That the U.S. won't produce more than about 30 million ounces this year. The Mint is going to halt sales next month somewhere around 40 million ounces, which means we're not only tapping it, we've wiped out all of the U.S.'s production, but about half of Canada's too by the time it's all said and done.
Wow.
That demand is nonstop, and again, not reflective at all in this paper trading price, where silver is going down just simply because it's going down. These high frequency trading algorithms are in there just, hey, they're chasing a dot on the screen, and it's going down, so let's sell more. Let's sell what that has nothing to do with the supply demand fundamentals. And again, that type of system just simply won't last.
Do you think that we're at a bottom for silver and gold, or do you think they could go? There's a lot of people calling for gold $750, silver, $15. Do you think we'll see that day?
I didn't. Hey, look, I'm the wrong guy to ask, I suppose, because though I thought they'd run the stops below 1525 back in April, I didn't think they'd be able to keep it down there. I was looking for more of a V-shaped bottom back then, and now, what did we get to 1180 by the end of June? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a pretty solid low. I'd be very surprised. One, even if we just got back down that far for a double bottom, if we do get down that far, there's got to be some stops now below 1180 again and below $18 in silver that could be run and get a steep, get it to really waterfall down again. We're so low now and so below the cost of production for so many miners, and the demand has just been unrelenting globally, that it's going to be pretty tough to sustain that low of a price, putting all those fundamentals back together. And the computers can do just about anything.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pretty tough to keep it down, that's for sure.
Mr. Ferguson, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? I know a lot of people in our crowd, and actually a close mutual friend of ours, Mike Krieger, is extremely bullish on Bitcoin. Have you purchased any Bitcoins yet?
I do not. It's funny. I can't remember the last interview I did that I didn't get asked about Bitcoin, Dan. I don't have any. I have not invested in it. It's probably just great. They talk about how it's all held on these, disaggregated servers and everything's safe and all that stuff. And I'm sure it probably is. Mike's a brilliant guy. I mean, he wouldn't like it if, I'm sure he's done his homework. I guess I'm just showing my gray hair in this regard, in that I like tangible things. Mm-hmm. I like sound money. One of the reasons I hate cash and paper currency is this move. You hear about this every once in a while, Dan. You'll see it brought up every 3 or 4 months about this idea of the U.S. becoming a cashless society. What do we need currency for anyway? Just credit card, or the, a thing in your hand or whatever,
Yeah.
And what I worry about with that is then your wealth, everything, could frankly be confiscated with a couple of keystrokes. If the state somehow decides that you're an enemy of the state, they could just simply take all your assets from you. I'm not saying that could happen with Bitcoin, but I would much rather have physical gold and physical silver, which, again, in any environment is going to be a money, going to maintain its value as sound money. I just stick with that stuff. The Bitcoin, like I said, may be great, but it's just not something that's ever going to really appeal to me.
If someone would like to reach out to you, tfmetalsreport.com, and then your paid membership, you said it was $10, correct?
Just $10 a month, so about 50 cents a day, and there, we get just a little extra behind-the-scenes access. TF Metals Report is completely free. Bulletin boards, the threads, everything for people to interact. But I put out a podcast every day of about 20 minutes, just kind of summarizing price, where I think it's going, all the day's events. And we have a fun, interactive thing every week where I like you, Dan, I'm just a regular guy, but now I know all these people all around the world that I would never in a million years have gotten to know if it wasn't for this site. And so to return something back, I want to give the subscribers access to all these people I know. So we try to have one of these webinars every week where I bring in somebody and people can ask the questions directly of those people, these guests, and get a chance to interact with them where normally they wouldn't. And it's all underneath that subscription banner of $10 a month.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and you're a great educator. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Dan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to do it again, let me know.
Will do. Thanks.